gentlemen, I just want to remind you that we actually have an email list and we would love you to join us. If you want to sign up, go to www.thewizardandthepriestess.com and find your sign up button. Join us today. Hello and welcome to The Wizard and the Priestess. My name is Nola and this is
Matt.
We have been going for just about a year now. Actually, we are one. Is that right, Matt?
We turn one this Thursday or Friday.
Okay, so that's pretty cute. First birthdays are big. They're a big time for reflection, introspection. Luckily, it lands right in Prepuary, right at that point of
And we're prepped. We're ready.
Prepped and ready to rock and roll into year.
What do you call February again?
February.
Oh, boring. Yeah.
But what I was doing, we were going through, actually start with our segment piece that we've added. What's our question for the week, Matt?
Oh, hang on. It is, what do you believe is the true nature of existence? So just a small question to celebrate our birthday.
I think I'm becoming more and more connected to this idea of what we've been speaking about all year, but essentially we are here to experience a human experience. What was the question?
I'm not just trying to. What do you believe is the true nature of existence?
You go.
Well, the true nature of existence is to experience. I'm just seeing if I'm triple reading if I read that right. Yeah. So the nature of experience is to live. It's similar like the question, what's the purpose of life? And it's not necessarily, there isn't what you would call a purpose per se, because that's just a blanket statement and it's relatively empty. But we're the ones that give it purpose. So remember, birth and death are opposites. Life is just is. It's what happens in between. We give that purpose. So the true nature of existence, I would say, is to exist, is to experience, is to love. Then you go into sort of purpose. But then the true nature of existence is really being.
Pretty profound and simple, really. And that I feel like I just want to add, it's our perception of that existence and being that creates the world that we're in.
Well, yeah, it's the combination of our internal and external environment that shapes that perception, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's also shaped by our biases and our beliefs and our ideologies of what right and wrong, good, bad, etc.
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
that kind of stuff. So
comes in.
Yeah, those beliefs really navigate us through life. So hopefully they are serving your true existence. Boom.
Yeah, that is pretty all right. I think you nailed that one. So tick that off the list. So moving into today's episode, we thought we would move through our journey so far. And I was listening to our first podcast and I was thinking about what we shared.
Yeah.
And what we shared in that was just who we are and what we're about.
Yeah.
And what we were sharing was where we were at in that moment, and where I was in that moment was pregnant.
How far along?
I think when we recorded, was I 13 weeks?
Yeah, okay. I was going to say
I don't know.
Months, I think, yeah.
2 or 3 months. But anyway, yeah, so I was very early pregnant. I was quite gassy. Before every episode, my body needed to burp a little bit, and that actually stopped now. Yeah. Interesting.
That was
So
kind of like a trademark because you weren't like that normally. It was just before I pressed record. It would
yeah,
just
I would need to.
that was awkward, just trying to get in.
Well, I mean, if it's anything to go by now, she is definitely a chatty, chatty, expressing person already at eight, almost 7 months old,
Mm.
and she's very, very strong in what she needs and how she wants to express. But yeah, so yeah, talking about, so that's where we started. We started there, and so
Well, actually,
if
can I
you
just
want
stop you? We actually started in October 2023.
the
Yeah, that fateful day when you approached the clinic room.
right, yeah. So that's where the journey began.
Yeah,
But the
that was the
podcast
conception.
inception, the Big Bang.
Yeah.
And then moving into the podcast, and so I'm just kind of jot down. We're going to go into our favorites in a minute, which I know off the top of my head because I have the list in front of me because I wrote them down. Matt chose not to. And I know what ones I think were my favorite. So we're going to chat about those and just give you a little snippet into what they're about if that's something that interests you. But what I thought we would do today is just give you a bit of a breakdown of like things that we've spoken about in the last year and give you a guidance back to those pieces, because whilst we tend to go around in circles over here, we're talking about very similar things, but I think it's important to remember that like the basis of what we shared about ourselves and the foundations of health that we believe in, slightly different resources that we use, but we're definitely focused on believing that the body can heal. We believe that the body is, here with a mind, a spirit, an emotional body. We have downloaded things that we need. We have the capacity to expand beyond. And every day, I think in the last year, we've definitely become really clear for ourselves, me definitely, and I speak for Matt, but he might change his mind after I share what I'm going to say. But I think that we have, we feel like we're standing on a precipice of what is and what is going to be, and that as we tread forward into this new era of being, we are going to see more and more that the spirit is so intertwined, and we need to remember that we are the whole and that we have the capacity to manifest anything and everything that we want in our lives. And so you are not a victim of your life, but are responsible for how you experience it and how you perceive it. And we hope that we can, through this podcast, give you that mode of information that can keep you questioning yourself and growing and just being the best human being that you can be, because we are meant to be joyful. We are meant to have fun. We are meant to experience all the hard stuff with the good stuff, but do it in a way that just happens and flows with us, so that we keep going downstream and we keep enjoying that stream as we move. So yeah, did you want to add anything, Matt?
No, you're doing really well.
Okay, cool. So with that being said, this last year we spoke a lot about where we're coming from and where we're moving. So how we understood the foundation, how we understand the foundations of health and how we tend to work with that. So if you want to go right back to the very beginning of our first episodes, you'll see what we're about, and then you can kind of dive into the foundations that we like catapult everything from. We then dive into our intuition. So by episode 5, we start to dive into intuition. And I think that's something that's really important. Matt, do you want to touch on intuition?
Well, there's intuition, which is kind of like a cosmic download, if you will. It's also we've talked about the concepts of consciousness, of that cross where you've got thinking, feeling on one end, on one cross or one line, and you've got intuition and sensation on the other. So with the intuition, people are scared to trust it, and because it takes a bit of spiritual, well, it takes a lot of spiritual courage to follow your intuition, and a lot of people haven't developed that, and it's not tangible enough for them to show that because they've got, well, in most cases, they've got too much of the external world penetrating the internal world, and it comes up as chaos. So they can't see that intuitive download clear enough, and it can be through a vision, it can be through you might hear something, you might sense something, you might feel something. So that intuition, that intuitive download we get will often be correspondent in relation to something that we're actually focused on, what our intention is. And I remember we did that in episode 5, 6, and 7.
Well, yeah, so 5, 6, and 7 is we dive into more about the intention stuff. And we dive into how to move in sense of the new year. So if we've spoken about that again now with regards to 2025 in episodes 48 and 49, but Keep It Rolling and the which is 6 and 7 was more about how to prepare for a year. So it's interesting that we're coming back around in that sense. But then what I was going to touch on, the episodes that we really dive into, if you're really interested in that sort of stuff, we go into Life from the Shadows in episode 8, what's really important in episode 9, and then we go into a little bit more, where was it? So, for example, the whole series from episodes 10 to 15, we talk a little bit of spirit, more spirit in the episode 15, but those really dive into like your emotional wellness. So
that's more your hysterosomatic, psychosomatic kind of information in that. But that's where the east meets west in like a therapeutic sense. Yeah.
And so if there's something that's really like, if you have an ailment at the moment that is impacting you emotionally, or if you're feeling something emotionally that you can't quite get a grasp on, episodes 10 to 15 last year would be something to really like hone in on and have a little look at. Then we've got like our episodes where we really talk about disease and health, and we talk about diagnosis, how we diagnose, how we work in the clinic, how we attack ourselves, our mental health, our emotional health.
That's really just the behind the scenes of what the diagnoses are. And, you can say autoimmune, but what is that? It's the immune system attacking itself as an example, but why? What's the mechanism driving that whole thing? What's beyond the actual diagnosis, the words, the label? That's what that series, that was that 16 to 20.
Yeah. And then also you've got episode 44 that you could probably listen to in that too. And there was one other thing that I was thinking of there. But
we can skip 21. That's fine.
What was 21? Oh, that's a great one. So anyway, then we have a big series on essentially how life is formed into beings. And so that's from Where's the Love, episode 21, all the way through to episode 27, where we move through love and then creation. So what happens before, like how we need to love in order to bring life into this world, what that might be. So that could be fertility. So that's episode 22. Then we go into pregnancy, 23. We go into birthing from an ancestral perspective, 24. Protection of the postpartum, 25, the development of the infant, 26, the school education system, 27, and then I was going to throw in here episode 40 if you're interested in the conditioning of the prenatal body, just to throw that in as one of those facets or aspects. So that whole range from episode 21 through 27 and then 40, they all kind of really dive into a lot of the female body, but we do talk about the male body as well, and just how yeah, how it all intermingles and how we can how we grow humans and the importance of that.
Mm. There's a lot of information in there.
Yeah, there is, and it's pretty cool. We will probably, as we go through our next year, as we prepped now, we've done a little bit of preparation for what we're going to do next year or this year, 2025, and we might dive a little bit deeper into them in different avenues in different ways. But that's something, if that's something that interests you, if you're pregnant at the moment, or if you're looking to conceive, or you are looking for a life partner now, actually, sorry, if you're looking to conceive, you've already got the life partner, but you're ready to make the baby and you're ready to get a bit of a download, get a bit of understanding, the way that I've essentially walked with before, and then the way that we've put all our pieces together. But I was going to share my favorite episode last year was episode 28, which is our men, which is our men and versus women, or our men and women episode, which is all about the male and female and how we work together and yet somehow fall
How
apart.
similar yet different we are.
Yes.
Mm.
Do
you want to expand on that at all? Are you good?
I mean, you know what? If you are about to enter a relationship, if you're at date 6 or 7, that might be a good episode to listen to. Maybe you're before 6 or 7. Maybe you've already jumped straight in and you've committed to the relationship, or whatever it might be. Maybe you're a year into dating and you've decided that maybe I'll commit. Understanding the male brain is one of the most mind-blowing things for a female, I think.
Beautiful.
And that, yeah, and so I think that episode really sums up how we function on a really basic level. And yeah, it was a really funny chat, and it was really, I think, yeah, episode 28 would be a good one for any person. We might reshare that this week. I'll send that to the editor to make note of.
And if any guys want to, I don't even know how to explain this now, just sit back and watch the female brain. That's a really good one. So, yeah.
I mean, you can watch the difference in male and female in every single episode and understand.
That is true.
That you don't actually need to go to 28. You can listen to anyone. And what was that one that we talked about? And you literally, was that 21?
No, that was.
There was an episode where Matt really clearly demonstrated the male brain compared to the female.
And can I just say for the record, Nuala asks questions, and then later on, I often hear, I could have asked that different. Just saying. Every single male listening to this now will resonate with that on some level. But all of this is behind the scenes, obviously, because we can't make Nuala look bad.
What? I don't. What do you think?
Smile and nod.
I never look bad. You're just trying to like blow smoke right now. But I think, yeah, realistically, Matt and I sit very firmly somehow in our male-female functions. Somehow it is quite shocking. I will share something soon if we have time. But moving along, then we talk into what we believe is not so healthy. So a lot of things these days is what's healthy, what's not healthy, and yeah, we talk about what we do.
Out there, yeah.
Health myths. So you've got a few episodes there, 29, 30, 31, that even 33, that kind of go into some of the health myths. We do a bit of an emotion, like quite a lot of the emotions. You've got that in those initial 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, where we go into the emotions and their correlation to the lungs. And then Matt deep dives into how that works for him in a clinic perspective. But I just wanted to touch on, we also talk about emotions, some deep emotions like sabotage in episode 35, anxiety in episode 36. One other thing, anxiety with separation, like preparing for a separation or being in a separation in episode 42. So I think those things are really cool to kind of if you're interested in that, like they really are mind blowing. And then if you want to get to know, they're mind blowing in the sense that our emotions can foggy us up with the way that we see and the lens that we look through. So having a bit of an understanding of where we are at or where you are at in terms of those emotions is really powerful and profound and so simple that you don't even have to work with one of us. You can actually just go and listen to our episodes and we give you all the ins and outs of how our brains are diagnosing or breaking down what's going on. So they're also really good things to go back to. Now, episode 32 is a great episode if you have been listening to the wizard chat about whatever he's been talking about this whole year and he is sparking interest but you're not quite sure what he's all about. So episode 32,
you want to see Nuala take on peppermint oil, it's on our Instagram. Or if you want to listen to it, it's equally as good.
That's early. That's the myth,
as well as
that's Healthy Life Hacks. That's
Healthy
episode
Life Hacks. There's a good video there.
Yeah, so we've got some good hacks going on. Oh yeah, that's where we talk about what we do in our morning routine. Year 2025 sort of changed that a little bit, hasn't it? We sort of do things a bit differently.
You had a prediction as well.
What was that?
You said everyone's going to eat less meat.
Yeah. So
something.
We are currently going through a really big I think we've been pivoting over the last 5 years where we have pivoted towards so there was a point where veganism was really cool and there was lots of, a real transition towards veganism and at the very least eating less meat. And then that transition to, like, in my world at the very least, transition to probably the way the wizard works right now with quite a lot of like animal product in every way, flesh product, all those things. It's been like promoted to every pregnant woman to eat beef liver, for every baby to eat chicken liver, to help their iron stores and all those things. And we've gotten really, really into it. And I truly believe that as we've moved into this Aquarian era for the next 20 years, we're going to see a bit of a movement back towards less animal product. So it's almost like the swing of the pendulum is going to happen, just like it got us here in the first place. Mm-hmm. But where we've been, I can hear the ripples happening, and I can feel the sense that in order for us to get to that level, we actually need to clear. And as it is the year of the snake where we're coming into that, I wonder, are we going to do an episode on that? Yep. Oh, we might do that next time.
Yep.
Where I'll dive into what we can expect for 2025 of the year of the snake, which comes on the 29th of January. Where are we at? Oh, we're going to do that next week, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so either way, what am I talking about? I believe that in order for us to really get to that point of really clearly opening, a lot of people are going to start opening up their clairs. They're going to become much more spiritually aligned. I believe that's the next epoch, the next 20 years, that'll be the case. But yeah, I think that in order to do that, we're going to move away from meat. And the snake doesn't eat much. So I would say that fasting, when do I talk about? I talked a lot about that. When do we talk about fasting? Oh, maybe that was in the not so healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty firm in my belief on fasting, and I believe that if you weren't doing it like very committed and it being a 3-day thing, or I didn't really believe in intermittent fasting, specifically for a female. I think that it has to be done in a really particular way, which is interesting because after the episode, I have now noticed a lot of women fasting people that have come out of the woodworks, and they're really sharing how to fast as a woman, because as a man, you've got that 24-hour timing that's slightly different. But as a woman, we really need to be conscious of our hormones. So anyway, that was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all of these things, I feel what I was talking about, I do believe that we're going to pivot away from a bit of meat and animal products, and we're going to pivot a little bit back towards less of that in time. It might not happen straight away, but I do believe as the spirituality of people grows and the interest in spirit and astrology and these formations and these guidelines or these kind of blueprints that we can place over our emotional, physical, spiritual realms, we are going to see that, yeah, we're going to see this transformation happen again. This pendulum will swing.
I think
And
knowing humans, when it swings, it's going to swing way the other way,
yeah.
almost to the point where you'll be castrated out of society if you eat meat.
Yeah, well, we sort of got there, right? That was already in some ways like that happened. For example, when I lived in Sweden, they have like a Veggie Tuesday. It's like
Like
very
a
common.
national thing.
It's like a day, and like the marketing is in on it, and they do vegetarian Tuesdays. Yeah. And I don't know if it's still going on. I haven't been in Sweden now for 7 or 8 years, but when I lived there for the time we were there, it was already like that was definitely becoming less meat. And I mean, right now we're in a bit of a witch hunt against meat, but this is where it's sort of it starts with the ripples of the system, and then it kind of like you've got the people holding the footholds, like, holding on, going, no, 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 like, we want to eat our meat. We want to eat our meat. And I'm not against that at all. And I do eat meat, animal products at this point in time. I eat obviously less of it at the moment, but just because I can't get what I want to eat here. But it is, an interesting one. And I do think though that spiritually we do need to be clearer. You know what happens when you don't eat meat? You become more open. Do you notice that or not so much, Wizard?
It really depends on the type of meat for me and witnessing others. It's usually red meat is because red is a very grounding color. It's the root chakra, right? So has a very grounding effect.
Yeah.
So red meat brings you into yourself from a dense viewpoint. But if you're wanting to open up that third eye channel and then clear that channel and feel less heavy, then the lighter meats would be the way to go. But then I've got to be the devil's advocate. If you're doing a lot of heavy training, then having the light meats all the time might not be sufficient for you. So there's always that balance to
Yeah.
consider. So it really depends on the objective.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think like it's really going to be really cool. I'm so open always, whilst I think you've shared before, Matt, that I'm solid in my opinion. I'm also humbled, when lightly humbled or sprinkled.
Oh, I've yet to see it, but yeah.
No, I really I love learning. So I am open to hearing. What are you laughing at? I am open to learning more new things. There might be aspects that I won't bend on because I believe in something. But
It also
yeah, I
might
think
work for you, right? And something else might work for someone else. So it's
totally.
yeah.
Yeah, and but what I mean is that it's I'm always open to what someone shares and what someone experiences, because that is their experience and that is their perception of what their reality is. So it feels, whilst I am pretty steadfast in where I stand, I'm also very open to learning new ways and new things, and I really love that. So I'm excited for the year ahead and the journey that we're going to take you on as we really come into this era or this space. We'll fully land in it in 2026, but this whole year is going to be a real reflective year. And both Matt and I obviously are the 29th of the 9th as our birthday, and I have seen a healer, and they did a numerology reading for me, and I shared it with Matt, and I said to him, I'm like, look, Matt, you can't eat too much red meat anymore. We're going to do a cleanse, And he was like, well, okay, I'm open to trying something. So that's going to be a fun segue. Oh, I wanted to touch on, I didn't even put that in here, but like Wizard Wants a Wife. 2024 wasn't the
We
year.
made 33 odd minutes without that coming up. I thought we were doing really well.
Unfortunately, we
You
haven't
know what
found
I
that.
like? I liked episode 38.
I also wrote, I asterisked that.
Boom.
Episode 38, and I was going to say 28 and 38. But okay, hang on, you can get that in just a minute after I share about Wizard Wants a Wife. So Wizard is still really wanting a wife, but my segment didn't really turn out in the way that I was hoping it did. But you know what? I think we might have something up our sleeves. We might do something a little bit different coming into the new year. So Matt obviously doesn't know about that yet, but he will.
Oh,
He
great.
will. So yeah, I'm excited, and I think you should be too, listeners, because it's always good fun. But yeah, let's touch on that. So episode 38. So I was going to try and correlate this also into the intuition aspect and the creating conscious communities part, and then working through worlds, this moving through spirit, aliens, and what was the other part?
Densities.
Densities.
That was basically me just going on my tangent. And I can't remember what you asked me, but that's what came out. And
yeah, and it was really good.
I feel like even for a brief moment in time, you actually got into what I was saying. And
I liked it. It was good.
And it was just going through how spirit flows and animates, and the difference between dimensions and densities and the levels and planes of existence and conscious realities. And I can't remember what I said about aliens, but we definitely threw that in there. I think we even talked about the pyramids at some point. Or was that maybe 39?
Yeah, so that's really, we talk a lot about, just the spirit moving into the physical. And I think we talk about that prior to maybe in the foundation or in the intuition aspect. And Life from the Shadows might also touch on those things, which is episode 8. But then episode 39, we kind of keep diving into the more complexity of the body, mind, spirit. And we're talking about the pain, that pain is sometimes necessary as a catalyst for change. And just being really aware that everything needs to change. And
well, I think everything's moving. There's nothing, if nothing moved, then nothing would happen. The fact that we are perpetually in motion, not only, you could be physically still, but your thoughts move. The thoughts are the quickest moving things. Light moves at 180,000 miles a second or something, but then thoughts move at the speed of now. So you can be physically still, but mentally moving. So it's about moving all the pieces. Everything's flowing. Everything's moving, whether we want it to or not.
And so like a big deep breath out after 2024, and not that I super correlate to that. I'm more of the Chinese New Year 29th, because after I have to spend some time in Prepuary, I'm still prepping, and I hope you guys are too, and not feeling any pressure to dive right now. There is a few astrological things going on with Mars in retrograde, which could be bringing up a lot of fight and like resistance. You could want to go full, like, what do you say? Metal for leather? What's that?
Hell to leather.
Hell to leather?
Something.
No.
Now I'm questioning that.
It's not hell to leather. Metal.
Pedal to the metal?
Yeah, okay. We should work on those. I make them up all the time.
No shit.
Anyway, you might want to put the throttle down, but you might have to just slow up and ease up for a minute, and just take a moment to utilize Prepuary whilst Mars is still in.
How long's that going on? How long is it Mars in retrograde for?
I have a feeling I read today that it was the 24th of February. So we've got a little bit of time, but which is interesting too, because this time of year is like a really abundant time for us in the Southern Hemisphere. So I think like really harnessing that energy, and know that you're harvesting all of those great things that you've done through 2024, that you've done through this last cycle. And I feel really proud of us, Matt, for getting to the journey, and I'm really happy, 1 year journey, and I'm really happy to be still sitting and chatting with you, surprisingly.
We're still talking to each other. So I think another important couple of episodes that we did were episode 45 and 46, where we kind of dissect common belief systems. And that was mainly, the inspiration was that from that was several conversations I had with patients over X amount of time. And that was the common theme running everyone's life. And all unconscious beliefs, but it's our deepest beliefs that navigate us through lives, whether we're conscious of it or not. So I think there's some really interesting experiences potentially in there for some people.
It's a really good one. I think it might feel a little bit cutthroat for some people to hear that even.
Well, that's okay though. That's okay, because we're in a new year now and it's time to reflect. We're not saying believe everything we believe, but if a thought is worth thinking, which leads to a belief, if the belief is worth living, then it's worth challenging. Now, if it's working and you're great and everything's sunshine and rainbows, then that's fine. But if it's a thorn in the side, or if it's I like this, but I want to do this, or I can only do this when, if only I could, if you're in that kind of state of being, then it needs to be challenged.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, pretty powerful. And then I guess the last episode we did was just flagging the red flags. And we did it. Oh no, we touched on those. Yeah, flagging the red flags and just
flagging the red flags.
Just being out, that episode is just about, what are they and are they?
Well, that would have been a better title.
You can change it.
Yeah. It's all right. Said it now.
Yeah, so what a year we've had, Matt.
It's been a journey.
What a journey.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for our where we're going, what we're doing. As you can see, guys, we have moved out of the studio. And now we have started, recording from different locations, which I wasn't sure about. But honestly, I think
so much easier.
Other than the lack of snacks.
Missing out. I'm quite well satiated on this end, just in case you were nervous about that.
Oh, well, that's good to know. Yeah. I am starving.
Awkward.
No, I'm good. But yeah.
If you're listening to this and enjoying our journey as much as we are, we would love your support. And if you want to leave us a 5-star review and a warm little message review, whatever it's called, especially for our professionalism, I think needs to be noted, then that would be much, much appreciated. And if you don't like what you're listening to, then we can keep it our little secret.
Yep. And on that, just to say, also, if you want to sign up to our mailing list on our website, you should really do that, because Matt is going to make a conscious effort on that this year. And this
has not been previously discussed.
You can expect to hear some fun things. We're actually going to do a little bit of a library on a few bits and pieces that you'll find on our website. So don't hold your breath, but it's coming in time once I, grapple with my 3 little planets that are orbiting constantly.
It's currently in time space, but we're going to manifest it in space time reality.
Yes. But yeah, have a great have a great end to your Prepuary. And next week we will come back and we will share all about how this snake year can be best used to your advantage.
There you guys. Thanks for listening.
Peace.
You've been listening to The Wizard and the Priestess. Thanks for stopping by. Stay connected and be open.